I'm a Minecraft builder with hundreds of hours of experience. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you one of the most complicated and useful tools in WorldEDIT, brushes. And if you stick to the end of the video, I'll teach you a tip that will highly increase your building skills. So you might not fully know what WorldEDIT is, so I'll give you a brief recap. But basically, WorldEDIT is a building mod that speeds up your building greatly. How it works is you need an axe, you can get it from your inventory, or type /wand. What you do with this wand is make selections. You need 2 points. First, go to point 1 and left click it, which sets the first position. Next, go to the second position and right click it, which sets the second position. Then, that creates a selection. 90% of commands only work in selections, so I'd say they're pretty useful. To get back to the point of the video, brushes are basically like brushes in real life. They can be used to paint a color on a landscape, or even make the landscape itself. So you might be wondering, how could I use such brushes? Well, it's pretty simple, and I'll show you just how simple it is. The first type of brush is called the Exfil Brush. It is definitely my favorite brush because of its amazing ability to create terrain, remove foliage, and so much more. So the first thing you want to do to create this extraordinary brush is to get a non-block item. So I'll just get something like steak. Now with your brand new steak in hand, you can type /brush sphere or /BRS for short. And if you want the sphere to be hollow, you can type -H after that. Next, you can put in a pattern, which is just any block. So I'll do red concrete. Most commands in WorldEDIT use patterns such as /set, /replace, etc. Lastly, you can put in a radius. You don't need to put in a radius, but you can control the size if you do. Congratulations! You've made your very first brush. Let's move on to the next command, which is called the cylinder brush. The layout of the cylinder brush is basically the same. The differences are instead of sphere, it's cylinder, obviously. In addition, instead of just the radius, there's also height. It is very basic like the sphere brush, but in the right situations, they can be very powerful together and apart. The set brush is both the previous commands mashed into one, only that you have the option to make it a cube, which means you have the choice to use a sphere, a cylinder, or a cube as the brush. So I'd prefer using the previous commands instead of writing all that out. But if you need a cube brush, then feel free to use this. So how you would write it is /brush, set, then shape, size, and pattern. And just remember that shape, size, and pattern are just placeholders. Now moving on from the shape brushes to the next set of commands, which are the smooth brush and gravity brush. The smooth brush is very easy to understand. It essentially refines and smooths everything out. Last, the gravity brush takes everything floating and applies gravity to it, which just moves it downward to solid ground. Last is the mask command. The mask command in WorldEDIT is among one of the most valuable tools for brushes. You might question the purpose of such a mask. In essence, the mask command restricts your brush to affect only designated blocks, allowing for precise and controlled editing. How you perform such task is to write mask and then a pattern. Using your new knowledge of masks, you will learn how to paint color on a landscape. How you do this is, like I mentioned before, a mask and a sphere brush. First, you make a sphere brush, and after that, you apply a mask to that brush. Make sure you hold the brush or it won't work. Now feel free to paint. One of the coolest brushes, I believe, is called the clipboard brush, which can be typed out as /BR, clipboard. The clipboard brush uses your clipboard as a brush. Your clipboard is just whatever you copied last with the copy command. I recommend seeing my last video after this. There are many parameters, such as you can add masks. After you write everything out, you can put in -AOEB. -AOEB is very similar to the paste command, which is very useful for making a forest of custom trees. Speaking of trees, the forest brush is a perfect way of making Minecraft-style forests. To make this, you simply type out //br forest, and then shape, radius, density, and tree type. But before you write that, I'll give you some info about it. You don't actually write out shape. You write something like a sphere, cylinder, or cuboid. In place of radius, you put a number of 1 to 6. And the density, which is pretty self-explanatory, is just how densely packed the trees are. Now, the tree type placeholder ranges from oak trees to scorching crimson fungus. And if one of your builds is scorching with flames, the extinguish brush is one of the best brushes you could use. It can be written as //brex. It is very useful when your wooden buildings are blazing with fire. It quickly extinguishes any fire blocks in the area. Have you ever wanted to paint with the fiery colors of the nether biomes? Well, the biome brush is an excellent choice. You can write it as //br, biome, shape, radius, and biome type. As I discussed before, shape and radius are just placeholders, but biome type, which is still a placeholder, ranges from plains to deep ocean to crimson forest. Now the moment you've all been waiting for, my tip. This invaluable piece of advice, which will significantly enhance everyone's building skills, is simply to practice. As the saying goes, practice makes perfect. So, as a top-tier builder, consistent practice is essential. This tip applies to almost any skill. Congratulations, you've successfully learned everything to know about brushes in WorldEDIT. Next, see this video so you can fully understand WorldEDIT itself.